So the first point you made in the piece is in terms of the 4 steps for effective PR. The first tip was increase brand awareness and visibility, stroke share of voice.
Yeah.
Unpack that for us, please.
So I'm going to go from the share of voice point of view, because I think a lot of people think they understand what brand visibility is. And for the sake of time, I'll use the kind of like PR speak to explain what share of voice is, because I think that's really, really important in regards to why people need to invest digitally, ironically enough, in the PR space. So share of voice is like it's a newspaper kind of speak of the amount of pages or press covering you have compared to your competitors.
Okay.
And so in most businesses that are leaders in their space, so if we think of the top 2 or 3 technological companies, let's say Apple, let's say Microsoft, let's say Samsung. If you talk about the top 3 financial companies, let's say PwC, Ernst & Young, and I don't know, Goldman Sachs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any 3, whatever, whatever we want, whatever. The measurement of success, to some extent, for these businesses would be how much are people speaking about them compared to their competitors. That's what you call share of voice.
Okay.
So the higher your share of voice is, the higher you have a track of people speaking about you and talking about you in press coverage, the better you're seen to be. Now, technological means that actually we can digitally see that now, right? So if you were to compare Apple, Microsoft, and Samsung, Apple's likely to come at the top, Microsoft is likely to come second, and from a technological point of view, Samsung is likely to come third, or mobile. Let's just call it that, right? And that's what businesses need to start to think about when they're putting themselves out there. So what I usually say to small businesses and growing businesses when they're starting out, and I use the word growing businesses because I don't think you stay small for long. You want to be on the process of growth. I say to them, start local. Start increasing your online, your digital, your press footprints from a local point of view. And the reason why this is important is because then you build up your allyship within your community. So we know that when we're starting out in business, you want your nearest and dearest to be the voices that help amplify you first, because they're the ones that love you. They're the ones that are going to hold you tight. Even if they're not even your customers, they're the kind of like the advocates, the evangelists for your business, right? So start local. That will help you do a couple of things. It will help you to build a level of confidence in PR, in communication with the press, with the media, with the TV, with the radio, with the podcast. But it will also help you to start building those important relationships with the journalists, because a local journalist will never stay local forever. They will become the editor of, the head writer of, the journalist of, the broadcaster of. They will become, and if you build those relationships now, locally, as they grow and you grow, they will carry you with them if you build that level of trust. So share of voice is about definitely increasing your voice, your coverage compared to other growing businesses in your sector and space.
Okay.
That's really good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm there making some mental notes. Get my pen and paper.
Watch back on the recording.
So don't hide whatever you're doing under a bushel, basically. Get it out there.
Absolutely.
And get it out there through trusted voices.
Absolutely. That is absolutely important. And I think it was Jermaine Dupri. I think I heard him say that he used to like do his thing. He was a producer, produced music, stuff like that. And then one day he realized that being secretive was denying somebody else the gift of being able to be encouraged by his. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm hiding because I'm scared to be seen, but I could be denying someone else the ability and the courage to move forward and build something bigger and better than even me. How dare I do that? And that's something that I took to heart.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know at least one person who that is going to benefit, because sometimes we we feel that humility is not talking about what we're doing. And frankly, we're not helping anybody by hiding our light. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of trust, the second thing you talked about was gain credibility equals the trust factor. What does that mean?
So you kind of like alluded to it, Colin, earlier on when you said that if I come to you and then you say, right, we've done our research, we've looked at what this business is doing, and then you write a story and you put it out to your audience base, what then happens is your readership develop trust, not because of my story, but because of your relationship to them, right? Because you've done the hard work of listening, of researching my story, understanding, unpacking it, and then it's through that you start to build a level of trust with your readers and hopefully your potential customers / clients.
Okay.
And what people kind of like think of PR in some ways is a way of like selling. It's not selling as such. It's building that connection point. It's finding those intersections that allow them to see themselves, to see the value of what you do, and to see actually how they can gain value from what you are offering as a business owner, right? So it's really important when we are going through the process of telling our stories, not to think of it as just a sales tool, but think of it as a way of unpacking people to get as much as possible. Now, this is the beautiful thing about PR that people that's different from marketing and advertising. When I'm selling a product, I want you to buy the whole product right there, then, right? When I'm doing PR, I get as long as time as I want, as many opportunities as I need to unpack it bit by bit and unfold it like a beautiful flower. And that's what builds the depth. That's what builds the trust. You don't have to blurt it all out. Buy this now, use it, and then you need to go through the process again. No, you're building that level of connection point and trust that allows them to get to unpack you. And you know that even in your personal relationships, you two didn't meet and know everything you know now in the first date. You had to unpack that. And there were beautiful moments, a lot of beautiful moments through that process. And it becomes richer the more you peel back as time goes on. It becomes just richer. So why don't we think the same with our customers and our stakeholders? It's the same process.
I love that.
It's so true. It's like we've interviewed people before that we've known for a while, and then something comes out like, I didn't know that. You know,
and it builds a deeper connection with them. It builds that like familiarity and the fun, and you feel it in you, like you feel it.
Love it.
It's back to that feel again, Nicola.
That's it.
I feel it needs connection. To be. The love needs to stay there. I feel that it's right.
Yeah.
And then the third thing you talked about was building relationships with journalists. Yes. Now, for most people, including myself, that can be quite a daunting process because, you know, we think of that whole industry and that whole thing as a real juggernaut and a world in its own right. How do you even penetrate that to build relationships with journos, as they're called?
Across all platforms from TV. So let's use a journo that I would consider like the most challenging to reach, like say Anna Wintour, to our local journalists at, you know, the local radio station and newspaper. What's the one thing they've all got in common? They're human.
They're looking for stories.
And they're looking for stories and they're human.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
No,
some more human than others.
They're all human. Whether we like them or not is another matter. But they're all human. And I think that's the first thing that I always put in place, right? They are human. So the fear factor is perceived, not necessarily a reality. Now, how you get to them sometimes can be different because some journalists, you email them. Some journalists, you will text them. They'll go on LinkedIn, social media, one of the other platforms. But usually, actually, most of them make themselves accessible, to your point, Colin, because they're looking for stories. Journalists are curious by nature. Like, that's the whole point. They're nosy, aren't you?
Is that why people may be scared of them, though? They go, what are they going to say? How are they going to script it? And I think there's that trust again, come back to trust, where you hear PR and people think, oh, spin. And I speak to this journo, and how are they going to really reflect me? Yeah.
You know something, you raised the spin twice, and I'm going to come to spin in 1 second, because that is really, really important in regards to the psyche of people understanding spin. So I'll come to that really second, but let me just finish off this point in regards to building this relationship with journalists and the curiosity of their stories. The issue actually isn't about them liking or not liking your story. It's, are you prepared for them to write your story? Do you have the right quality of pictures in place? Or are you sending something that's grainy and pixelated and doesn't look good? Do you have a hook? Is your story relevant to the journalist that you're sending it to? Because most people send a story to a publication. Are you sending it to the right journalist? I'm never going to send a story about socks to Anna Wintour. Never in 1,000 years, unless we're talking about something extra special about these socks. And I know she's looking at socks. But apart from that, is it relevant to her?
Yeah.
Right. And you are a pitch black magazine that deals with the African and Caribbean diaspora in the business space for the UK, and they're in the UK, right? And they're thereabouts. So why would I send you with a business in Zimbabwe if it has no connections with the UK? Research is key. Is it relevant?
Yeah.
So it's doing those intricate things that people have to understand is the byproduct of really getting the results that you want.
I like that.
But I really want to touch on the spin element as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in regard to spin, we started the Fire PR Club, which is a club that helps people to understand what PR is because of that very same question. There's a woman called Karen, who actually I work with now, but Karen, and she said she thought of PR in terms of Max Clifford. So anyone who remembers Max Clifford, remember him, spin doctor, right? For that. And there's always Alistair from
Campbell.
the Labour Party. Alistair Campbell. That's right. And people always think of it in those kind of things. What I'm going to say to people is this: spin is the ugly cousin to PR, right? It is part of the family. It is part of the family, but it's about manipulation of a story.
Yeah.
Public relations is not about the manipulation of the story. It's about building depth. That's what good PR is. So there is a
I love that distinction.
difference between the two. So they're cousins, but it's the ugly cousin. And it's about the manipulation of stories. So it's not really about building a relationship with you. It's about telling you something to make them feel better, make them get away with something. So they don't really want to build a relationship with you. They just want to tell you a perceived reality. That's their PR, a perceived reality. It's not the reality. It's not a relationship. It's perceived. Public relation is about building that relationship with you.
I really like that. And I think that's probably one of the best distinctions we've heard in terms of the difference between spin or spin and PR, and I like that.
Public relations versus
perceived reality. Spin is the ugly cousin.
You heard it here first from Nicola.
To PR. Absolutely brilliant.
The beautiful one. Not the ugly cousin.
Not the ugly cousin. Right. And
watch
then
all the other ugly cousins come for me now.
Well, if they're coming for you and they're kind of like, self-naming themselves as ugly cousins, well, take them off the Christmas card list.
they'll out themselves.
Oh dear.
And then the last thing you mentioned was about generating leads by driving traffic to your website. Now, we're all in business, and business is ultimately about providing a service to a particular demographic. in a cost-effective stroke profitable way. So ultimately, we're telling people our story, but really we want them to engage with us commercially. So how do we, in practical terms, go about generating leads through stories? So getting someone to think, actually, I want to know more about that. Let me log on to their website, for example, or let me email or pick up the phone, or if people still do those things.
I occasionally do, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, there's now, and the reason I added that one is because there are now practical tools out there to make it literally user-friendly for people to be able to share their own press releases online, put in links, and then literally to share the story from their own platforms, from their own through their own actions, should I say, rather than doing it in a traditional PR sense in regards to I reach out to a journalist, editorial, and then that's the case. So let's take them in two separate spaces, one for 1 minute over the other. So let's talk about the traditional way, which is I reach out to a journalist, they tell us stories. Well, ultimately, if you have a really strong relationship with a journalist and media, they will do everything they can in their power digitally as well as in print or in traditional format to really ensure that they can drive traffic back to you through the way they tell the stories, the call to action they put in place. All of those things will make a difference. The deeper your relationship is with a journalist, the higher you're likely to get those kind of return on investment on that piece of article, right? Because they will know the keywords that will motivate their audience to read it. They will help you to put the pictures in the right places. They will position it in the right size of the column. They will ask you the right sets of questions. They will do all those things. So that's traditional way. And that's my preferred way. That's my preferred way. However, the secondary way is there are platforms online where you can self-distribute your press releases yourself. You pay a nominal amount of money and you self-distribute your press releases to go out nationally. So it doesn't really impact journalists and publications in the same way, but it gives you an amplified voice in the space. And in those places, you can put links in there which are clickable and then send off. Now, I'm not 100% kind of like a technical guru in the space, but what I have seen from what I've done with certain clients is when you're dealing with FMCG, which is fast moving consumer good companies, so like the cakes and the widgets and whatever the case may be, what I find is for whatever reason on the algorithms, when you use that self-publishing piece, it just drives a heavy amount of traffic to the site. Now, if you put specific, so don't put links to the broad website, put to specific products. So let's just say the widget is a leaf. You put it www.leafcompany.co.uk/the leaf.
The leaf.
Not to the whole company, you want it to that specific place. And what I have seen directly with my own eyes and through testing it is with a combination of both, you're building a level of trust with traditional PR, but with this algorithm piece and digital piece, it also allows you to get some sales that come through and increase traffic. And then you've got to nurture that. Then you've got to go back to traditional PR and start nurturing that audience to stay with you long term, because kind of like trick them into connecting with you through algorithms. So that's where I spoke about that piece, is just like through observations, through what I've seen, is that now there's this new digital space that allows you to pay, plug in, and distribute. There are certain things you need to do. You need to set up an account, all the rest of it. You should monitor it. You should check things like your traffic to your website beforehand, traffic to a website 24 hours later, traffic from your website 48 hours later, and see how that works. It does not work, though, if you repeatedly keep doing the same thing. It's not like plug and play, and the same thing happens, because then people will say, well, why don't I do this all the time? I think it's just an algorithm trick that Google and the other platforms have seen as a way to monetize PR in a way, and also to help businesses to gain visibility.
Exposure.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like the way you explained that you need to kind of like go back to those people and connect with them so that you can then build the relationships.
Yeah.
That the human to human side of things.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Very
So
good.
we've really got a PR masterclass from the PR master.
Yes, indeed.
Well done. Well done. If somebody wanted to find out more about you, Nicola, and FP Comes, how would they go about that?
So it's very easy now. Before I used to say, go to Instagram and look at our link tree, but we don't do that. We've now relaunched our website, and it's FP Coms. So it's straightforward. All the W's, F for Freddie, P for Peter, Coms is a double MS. So it's COMMS.co.uk. And it literally is,
brilliant.
Like I said, I like to keep things really simple, and so you can't get lost.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Nicola, thank you so much. Thank you for doing all that you do. Thank you for 23 years ago venturing into this world of marketing and PR. And the last thank you for 16 years ago starting FP Comes. We'll certainly be celebrating you, cheering you on, and challenging you to go even further. So thank you very much. We love what you're doing, and keep on doing it. And I think we need to put a caveat out there for the listeners to have a notebook and pen ready for this one. Absolutely. So ready for class.
Can I just say thank you to you guys as well for entering this space. There's much more to come, I think, between us. And thank you for inviting me to contribute to the publication as well. And I would advocate to people, again, it's important when you say connecting with them, read the article. That's how you connect. Read the article. Go to page 88 and read the article.
Absolutely.
With your notebook and pen. Highlighter.
That's it. So, if you haven't yet read the article, it's on page 88, as Nicola has just said.
Of issue number
7, and it's 4 effective tips, or 4 tips rather, for effective PR. And make sure after you read the article, log on to fpcoms.co.uk and just delve into the world of FP Coms and all the good stuff that Nicola has on offer. So thank you very much, Nicola. We look forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah, indeed.
Take care. God bless. See you soon.
See you soon. Don't go anywhere.
I'm here.
That was really good, Nicola.